Well, hello there. We're here with John Stevenson, who works in the area of housing for RAiH. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a bit about the idea behind the use of restorative justice in housing?
Sure. I spent the last 30 years plus working in social housing and dealing with neighbour conflict. And I was introduced to the use of restorative justice about 10 years ago, when it was very evident that the use of the process in criminal justice was very well rated. But back in 2005, it hadn't been tried and tested in housing. It was a colleague of mine, Jeanette Brown, who first alerted me to seeing a presentation by Sir Charles Pollard, and as a result of her seeing that presentation, myself and my colleague made contact with Sir Charles, and we went to meet with him in London, and we talked about how it might work in housing. That was the start of a very long and very exciting and interesting time for me, and 10 years on, I've really focused and concentrated on the use of RAiH in housing issues.
Well, that's very interesting. I was just thinking, in terms of RAiH, it's not always easy to sell the idea to other organizations or people. So how do you think that the use of RAiH in housing was received, or has it been received well by the housing sector?
Yes. I think it's fair to say, even within my own organisation, there were many sceptics who would say, I don't really see the point in this RAiH stuff, doesn't seem any different to mediation to me, why are we bothering, and so on and so forth. And it was quite a task to drive the process forward. And it did take a lot of thought and a lot of discussion, a lot of negotiation to explain that the two processes are actually very different. And with restorative justice, you do need to focus on the fact that there's a relationship between the parties of somebody who's caused harm and somebody who's on the other end of
the receiving end,
the receiving end of the harm, which is different to mediation, where sometimes you can't really clearly see who's in the right,
both parties see themselves as being victims.
Maybe feel themselves as victims. Yeah.
Okay. So, in terms of the use, the application of restorative principles to this sort of conflict in the housing sector, what do you think are the main benefits?
The benefits are...
I mean, I'm talking the benefits to the victim and offender, or to the two parties in that sense, but also to the organizations that choose to go down this path.
Yeah, the benefits that I have seen are huge. If we deal with the most important, I think first, benefits for the participants can be life-changing. I've certainly, over the last 3 years, been involved personally in facilitating probably 100, 120 cases plus, and to see people going understandably anxious, upset, traumatised sometimes.
So that's when they go into the room?
When they go into the room, because they may have been in a conflict for a number of years, but within the space of the meeting, following the process as you need to see them walk out maybe an hour and a half later, their persona changes, you can see the tension goes, and to see people, I've seen people shaking hands, I've seen people embracing, I've had people even kissing each other at the end of the meeting, and really there's nothing more rewarding to see how it can change people's lives.
So there was genuine reconciliation.
Very much so.
And for people that live adjacent one to another very often.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you consider are the main challenges for the use of restorative justice in housing in the future? Is it resistance to the idea by some organizations? Is it spreading geographically? What do you think the future holds?
Yeah. I think the big challenge is that many housing specialists, people who deal with conflicts, So they're often anti-social behaviour officers or community safety officers or just housing managers, housing officers. They've spent sometimes a very long time doing the job from an enforcement-led perspective and are very comfortable in that role, and very able, and
they know how to do it.
They know how to do the job. This turns the thing on its head, really. It's actually potentially a little bit more time consuming to convene a meeting properly, but the major difference is this, Miguel, that by using the face-to-face approach, you have a much better prospect of a long-term resolution for these people. And that means that the housing staff don't have to keep coming back, opening the case, going back, reinvestigating the case and so on. And it will give people, in my experience, often gives people closure.
Well, that's very interesting, and it's a very positive outcome as well. Thank you very much, John, for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Cheers.